Well, hello there, my friends. It's your boy, the Anime Ambu here, back with part 5 of What If Naruto Was Like Minato. And, I told myself that I would complete at least 5 parts before I even began to ponder about the possibility of another series. And, just just a little sneak. I am looking at different books to read, so I'm heavily debating on beginning one. And I told myself I would at least go to 5. So here's part 5, and I guess within the coming days you'll see whether or not I did decide to start a new one. Nevertheless, a like, a comment, and subscribing would be much appreciated. And especially a comment if you guys see this, or you want to say something like, hey, hello, what's up, let me say what's up, and we can have a full conversation down in the comment section below, and I don't mind at all. And yeah, I think that's about it. So without further ado, another thing, so I have been looking into pieces towards a piece of equipment that would help improve something such as sound quality. As I know, it's probably not up to the highest tier. Just a little hint, but yeah, in the coming days, we should also see some improvements there. And let me know down below if you do see them. And I've been rambling for way too long. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, the author also reads, this chapter will have a mini time skip, okay? Kurama was as blunt as a hammer. You don't have chakra coils in your body, kid. Naruto's reaction was priceless. What? Kurama chuckled. Naruto's reaction to surprises was turning out to be very amusing. He watched as Naruto seemed to have a panic attack within his own mind. The mind responded to his mental state, shaking violently. Kurama understood just how much that had rattled Naruto. Calm down, kid. I wasn't finished. Seeing how Naruto was showing no signs of calming down, Kurama let loose a small bit of his killing intent, enough to make a Jonin sweat. Naruto, however, was totally inexperienced in experiencing killer intent, therefore his reaction was entirely predictable. Naruto instantly froze in his place, all thoughts of Kurama's news fleeing his mind as he registered the new feeling. The mindscape stopped shaking. As Naruto slowly turned towards Kurama, voice shaking, he asked, What was that? Kurama stared Naruto in the eyes, indicating he was serious. That was killing intent. Usually used by shinobis to intimidate each other. However, whoever has the higher killing intent is able to make the other suffer illusions of death. If the killing intent is potent enough, I'm surprised, though, that you managed to stay conscious, he said with a raised eyebrow. Naruto was taking deep breaths during Kurama's explanation, trying to calm down. By the end of the explanation, he was almost back to his normal self, scowling a bit. And you thought that was the best way to calm someone who's having a panic attack? Shrugging a little bit, Kurama defended himself. You have to start someday. Also, that was only a little bit of my killing intent. You have yet to experience my full killing intent, he finished, grinning maliciously in the end. I'm sorry, I'm trying different voices, trying to figure out what's best. I digress. Let's continue. Naruto, for his credit, showed no reaction and kept his face neutral. He would deal with this some other day. For now, he had to focus on his chakra problem. Clearing his throat, he asked, What were you saying about my chakra coils before? Kurama sat up, towering over Naruto, who had to look up towards him. As I said, there are no chakra coils in your body, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, at least not yet. You first have to unlock your chakras so I can see if this is a problem or not. Naruto nodded, now fully in control of his emotions. He then gestured towards the lake. What is that? I don't remember seeing it yesterday when I changed my mindscape. Kurama nodded at him. You would be right. However, do you remember your question to me concerning trauma and your mindscape? Naruto tilted his head, his eyes agreeing to Kurama's question. Kurama said, Well then, that theory applies to this lake as well. You may change your mindscape to anything, but there will always be a representation of what is already there within your mind and body. Gesturing to the lake, he explained, There are 2 things of importance that you need to know about this lake. Obviously, this represents your chakra, but there are some other things as well. The size of this lake, however, represents the size of your reserves. I have minor difficulty in seeing the end of this lake, which means your reserves are impressively large for your age. The depths of this lake represents the density of your chakra. The deeper it is, the denser and more powerful your chakra is. Naruto was listening intently to Kurama. He had to admit he couldn't see the other side of the lake, which meant that his reserves would have to be very large. The question that now remained was how deep the lake was. As if reading his mind, see what I did there? Kurama nodded knowingly. Oh, that was an author note. You have to dive inside the lake to find out how deep it is. Before you do that, touch the water and tell me what you feel. Naruto frowned in confusion at the odd request, but he nodded, touching the water, and instantly his frown deepened, as if he didn't like the feeling. Kurama turned his head towards him, asking, "What do you feel, Naruto?" Naruto removed his hand from the lake, saying, "Like it's incomplete. Something else should be there, but it's not." Kurama nodded his head in agreement. "Okay, that missing thing is your chakra. Once you unlock your chakra, that feeling will be gone. Now get into the lake and unlock it," he almost ordered Naruto. Naruto thought for a moment about how to proceed with this. Deciding it, he jumped into the lake. He jumped inside, taking a deep breath. He swam his hands forward in a sharp motion, pulling them back to go deeper. He kept swimming for what felt like an eternity. How deep is this lake? How dense is my chakra? Thoughts like these kept running through his head as he continued to go deeper. Strangely, he felt no need to breathe in this lake. Must be because I'm swimming in my own mind, he deduced. Finally, he saw what appeared to be the bottom. His efforts to reach there hastened. As soon as his hands touched the floor of the lake, he instinctively knew that his chakra was just beneath him. I wasn't saying geez because the word was hard. I was saying geez because I mispronounced it. I digress. The floor of the lake was acting as a barrier between him and his chakra. He just needed a way to break the barrier so he could access his chakra. He decided to dump logic for this situation and force his way like a brute. Any idea that would probably not work, but worth trying. Considering that this was his body and mind, the barrier would be only strong enough so he could break it with enough effort. He pulled his hand back and punched the ground as hard as he could. He repeated this for 19 times. On the 20th time, a small crack appeared on the floor. Naruto noticed the crack and grinned with satisfaction. About time you cracked, he thought. Redoubling his efforts, he saw that with every punch the crack widened. At last, the crack was big enough that he knew it would break in one last punch. Pulling back his fist, he brought it back with all the force he could muster. As soon as his fist connected, the ground shattered from beneath him, and he was assaulted by an absolute euphoria. He felt complete now. The earlier feeling of something missing, now completely gone. But the force with which the chakra was released was so great that he was forced out of the lake in just a few moments, contrary to the time he took to reach the bottom. The last thing he heard from Kurama before being forced out of his awake was, "Damn, I haven't felt chakra this dense and powerful since the tree hugger himself. But the midnight blue is unusual." Hashirama, obviously. Jeez. I was like, I'm confused who the tree hugger is, but then Hashirama is the only one. I'm getting sidetracked, my bad. I tend to do that pretty frequently. Oh, I thought it was low. Anko was watching the blonde for almost 20 minutes now. Just what is he hoping to accomplish, she thought. She was getting impatient now. Just as she was about to turn and leave, she felt it. It was impossible to ignore given how powerful the presence was. She wheeled around, eyes wide, staring at Naruto. He couldn't possibly be. Naruto's eyes opened a second before midnight blue chakra exploded from him. It was so dense and powerful that the ground around him cracked violently. Wind was blowing all around, very fast by the sheer force of his chakra. Naruto lifted his hands in front of him, seeing the beautiful midnight blue color of his chakra flowing from his body. It almost seemed to be sparkling. The feeling was so exhilarating that he almost missed Kurama's voice. "Naruto, you're letting out too much chakra. Stop right now." Naruto fortunately noticed the urgency of Kurama's voice and immediately thought about reining it in. To his surprise, the chakra stopped exploding from him almost instantly. Unfortunately, he had expelled too much of it. The sudden coming down from a high like that caused him to fall unconscious on his back. Anko, who had watched the whole spectacle, was looking at Naruto with eyes wide as dinner plates. Was that Kyuubi's chakra that exploded? What the hell? That exploded? Wait, what? You see now? I just lost it. Was that Kyuubi's chakra that exploded from him? No, the Kyuubi's chakra is orange. That chakra that exploded from him was blue, an unusual darker shade, but blue nonetheless, which means that chakra was his, she thought incredulously. Incredulously? Jeez, that is a vocab word and a half. Okay. Her one hand was now on her mouth. The amount that he was letting go could easily rival the Sandai maze. But how did he unlock it? And that too so early. All kinds of questions were flashing through her mind, but seeing the kid fall unconscious on his back, she rushed to him, checking to see if he was all right. A sigh of relief escaped her when she saw that he had just collapsed from mild chakra exhaustion. He must be only 5 to 6 years old. Unlocking chakra at such a young age is unheard of. Most children unlock it after spending years at the academy, and this kid does it before entering the academy? She thought, again with the incredulously, Jeez, man. I'm sorry. That is a word. Try saying that word 10 times fast. That'll get you. Or at least it gets me. It suddenly occurred to her that a blast of chakra like that would have attracted the attention of almost all shinobi in the village. Shinobi training kicking in, she picked the kid up and vanished in a shunsui to the Hokage's office. I think that's how you pronounce it. If not, let me know. The Hokage sat in his chair, eyes glaring at a pile of paperwork that seems to have materialized out of nowhere. And just as he finishes the previous file, he is ridiculously irritated at how it so innocently sat in front of him. This is ridiculous. This blasted paperwork has to be a force of nature. There is no end to it at all. It is always mocking me. To anyone watching, including the Anbu guards in the room, it seemed hilarious how the Hokage was locked in a glaring contest with paperwork of all things. But the captain of the Anbu group could relate to his boss, having to deal with something similar after every mission they do. Hiruzen finally lost his patience after staring at it for almost 15 minutes. Oh, another notification. After 15 minutes, so infuriated was the old Hokage that he positioned his hands into a tiger seal and took a deep breath, intent on burning the paperwork away. He was 1 second away from setting the paperwork on fire when he sensed it. The powerful burst of chakra, so powerful that he was sure almost every shinobi in the village felt it, censor or not. Let me take a sip of my drink real quick. So good. What was that? I didn't think any... What was that? I didn't know any shinobi of mine was capable of releasing chakra on this scale. From what I sensed, it was powerful, overwhelmingly so. But there was no intention in that burst of chakra. No evil or good. It was simply neutral. Just what is going on, he thought. He decided that any shinobi who might be near the burst of chakra would respond and report to him shortly. With that, he turned his attention back onto the table and put his hands on it. Closing his eyes, 5 minutes later, his door was unlocked. He answered, "Come in." The door opened to show his secretary, Ikumi, a middle-aged woman gesturing towards a purple-haired kunoichi carrying a familiar child with blonde hair in her arms. "Naruto, what happened to you now?" he thought in a worry as he quickly gestured her inside. Anko gently laid Naruto on the couch in the office and then turned to face the Hokage. Oh, AirPod thing. Let me check if I'm still recording, just in case. I really do not... Okay, there we go. I really did not want to have to reread this again. His eyes were hardened, having the look of a true legendary shinobi instead of a man who was reduced to doing paperwork. His voice had an edge of steel. "What happened, Anko?" Anko was not nervous at all. She had done nothing wrong. "Hokage-sama, I was just passing by the training fields when I saw Naruto Uzumaki sitting in the middle of the training field in a meditating position. I was curious, so I hid from his sight and observed for anything that would happen. 20 minutes passed and I was about to leave when I saw the most extraordinary thing, Hokage-sama." Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. "A burst of powerful chakra and Anko comes to him with an unconscious Naruto, there seems to be a link here. What did you witness, Anko? A burst of chakra so powerful that I haven't felt anything like it before, Hokage-sama. The ground around him seemed to crack just by the force of his chakra. Yo, if you hear that in the background, that is my dog. He's adjusting himself. He's done that in 2 videos now. Yikes. Hirizin's eyebrows went upward and it... You good? I'm just checking on my dog. Making sure he's alright. Being weird. Oh, sorry. I digress. Let's get back into it. Hirizin's eyebrows went upwards in a disbelieving motion. You mean to say that Naruto here, he gestured to the boy on the couch, unlocked his chakra, and the burst of chakra from before was his chakra? Hi, Okage-sama. Anko nodded in agreement. Hiruzen sat back in his chair, finding it quite hard to believe what Anko had told him. However, Anko had no reason to lie to him. Still, how was this possible? Anko, he said to the kunoichi, stay here right now until he wakes up. I believe we should hear this from the source, he said, looking at Naruto. Naruto was lying on his back in his mindscape, staring at the sky. Kurama was right beside him. Another one. I promise you, these are just videos. These are not like comments or none of that. Naruto was lying on his back in his mindscape, staring at the sky. Kurama was right beside him, head rested on his hands, looking content. Naruto sat up, eyes blinking around in confusion. What happened? Kurama replied in a bored tone, you fell unconscious. It's as simple as that. Naruto's eyes widened in realization. I unlocked my chakra. So what does that mean for my body, Kurama? He asked, eager to address the problem of his absence of chakra coils. Kurama glanced at him. I observed the release of your chakra, and I have good news. You can still control your chakra. Naruto seemed to practically melt in relief at that. That's good. I wasn't finished. Kurama's voice brought him back again. Your absence of chakra coils makes it easier for you to control your chakra. You can directly control it without having to rely on chakra coils, which means you will have excellent chakra control. Hearing this, Naruto started jumping around in joy. He would be able to become a shinobi after all. Moreover, his chakra control would be excellent. Kurama was quick to burst his bubble, however, continuing the same lazy tone as before. You were lucky, however. Most people would not be so fortunate as to control chakra without chakra coils. Naruto stopped dancing around and turned to Kurama with wide eyes. Then why am I different? At this, Kurama shrugged and didn't bother to answer, saying only one thing before falling back to sleep. Start training to use it. With Kurama now asleep, Naruto had nothing to do in his mindscape. Might as well wake up, he thought. He walked up to the stream and promptly fell face first into it. Oh my gosh, he did a belly flop into the stream. It had been over 10 minutes since they were waiting for Naruto to wake up. Anko honestly did not know why the Hokage had asked her to wait in his office, but she had to follow whatever the Hokage said, so she waited, albeit impatiently. Hiruzen, on the other hand, was contemplating on what to do. He was in his classic thinking pose, elbows on the desk, chin rested on his hairs and eyes closed. On his hands and eyes closed. If what Anko had said was really true, and Naruto had unlocked his chakra, then perhaps it was time for Naruto's training to begin. He had thought that Naruto would grow up normally in the academy, but it seemed nothing was normal if it was connected to Naruto. Maybe he could get Anko to train him. Suddenly, he heard a groan from where Naruto was laid. His and Anko's eyes snapped there as Naruto sat up, looking no worse for wear. His eyes seemed confused as he did not recognize where he was. However, as soon as he saw him and Anko, the wariness clouding his eyes suddenly disappeared, replaced by cautiousness. How the hell did I get here? He mumbled as he studied the purple-haired kunoichi. He had never seen her before. The kunoichi spoke in a rude tone. I brought you here after successfully altering the entire shinobi force of this village. What the hell were you even doing in the training field, brat? Naruto suddenly remembered that he had unlocked his chakra successfully and did not stop the full-blown grin on his face. Unlocking my chakra, he replied in a cool tone. But how did you know to unlock your chakra, Naruto-kun? Oh, I did not know that was a voice, like a vocal speaking thing for... Jesus. Oh, I have a hard time speaking, if you can't tell. Hiruzen asked curiously. A 5-year-old child unlocking their chakra without any outside help was simply unheard of, not to mention how powerful his chakra was. Naruto did not think he would be dragged into the Hokage's office to explain how he unlocked his chakra. He needed time to build up a lie about it. Unfortunately, he didn't have it as both of them were looking at him expectantly, so he just gave them his patented, making you feel stupid with a simple look. Both of their sweat dropped, thinking along the lines of, how does he do that so well? Fortunately for Naruto, it allowed him time to come up with a convincing lie. Well, chakra is inside everyone, right? I thought if I looked deep inside myself, I would find it too. For the you-know-what, right, Gigi? Hiruzen looked confused, but realized it. Naruto wanted to unlock his chakra to get access to the things his parents left behind for him. But now, time to address the elephant in the room. Wait, let me. Okay. Okay, it's not letting me do it. It's not. Oh. Okay. Sorry, give me a sec. Okay, there we go. That was so weird. Why does it... Okay, I'm not even going to worry about it. Now that you have unlocked your chakra, Naruto, what will you do? Naruto frowned for a moment and crossed his hands, causing Anko to hold back her urge to hug him and yell, "Kawaii!" The kid looked mighty adorable. Naruto said, I will train, or so I would like to say. Unfortunately, I have no idea as to how I should proceed now. Books have always been the thing to answer my problem, but I feel that books can't teach me what I need to know practically, he revealed honestly. Perfect. Hiruzen thought with a hidden smile. Normally, he would have Naruto wait for another year, letting him join the academy and then letting him learn all he needed. But he knew that Naruto was a naturally curious child. Who knows what experiments he would do to find out what he could do. It'd be dangerous to leave Naruto to his own devices or chakra. His eyes shifted to Anko, who's watching Naruto and barely restraining herself from glomping him. Okay. But if he were to get an instructor to teach him early, many of the consequences could be avoided. Also, since Naruto is a genius, he may not really fit in with his age group. Not only because he would be far ahead of them, but also because even his generation keeps their distance from him. Also, I have this feeling that Naruto and Anko will bond spectacularly. Okay. Sorry. He barely kept himself from grinning. Naruto can still enter the academy at the proper age and graduate with his age group class. Many of the teachers may not give him the proper education because of their struggles and grudges against the QB, but that treatment would be null and void if he is already far ahead. The council will surely protest against this, calling this favoritism, but I can justify myself by saying that the village's Jinchuriki must be trained early so he could be ready for anything. The foolish council members will blindly agree to this, and if they don't, who are they to go against the Hokage? Oh, the pieces of Naruto's puzzle are falling together wonderfully, he thought to himself gleefully. I don't know why I read that as if I was like an anime villain explaining his plot of villainy or whatever the term is, but I don't know why I read it like that, but I digress. Outward, he said, then it is probably safer to get you an instructor rather than you experimenting on your own. Uncle finally caught on to the Hokage's plans as she wheeled around to face him with wide eyes. Hokage-sama, you can't possibly... I appoint Uncle Mitarashi as the instructor of Naruto Uzumaki, effective immediately, he declared. Naruto's eyes, along with Kurama's, were wide as dinner plates. This was totally unexpected. Naruto never expected to get a personal instructor. He, the village pariah, jailer of the QB, but he was happy that he... and all that... What? But he was happy, and that was all that mattered to him. Okay, I'm just going to interpret some of these words. For Kurama, he found it hard to believe that the old monkey had balls big enough to pull off this kind of stunt at his age. Yo. Okay. That was actually pretty funny. Anko protested, but Hokage-sama, do you have a problem with my decision, Anko? He asked with his voice hard. Anko immediately stood in attention. No, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen immediately smiled, reverting back to his grandfather persona. Good, I knew you would have no problem. Anko's sweat dropped at how fast the old man could change personalities. She actually thought that he was showing favoritism because everybody knew how close he was to Naruto. But she also saw how special Naruto was. But she was not cut out to be an instructor. Rather, she didn't want to. She was more suited out in the field. Turning to Naruto, he then said, Naruto, you can go back to your apartment, and Anko and I have something to discuss. Also, report to the training field behind this tower tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. sharp. Oh, let me get another sip of my drink, please, Alright, my bad. Naruto nodded and immediately left through the window. Turning his attention back to the special Jonin, he said, Uncle, you have to understand that this is necessary. Naruto will face many difficulties in the future, and I feel that by the time everyone acknowledges him and comes to support him, it will be too late. Also, give him a chance. He will surprise you, he said with the utmost seriousness. Anko was hesitant but nodded. Truthfully, she did not want to do this, but had to anyways. The fact the Hokage told the brat and her to report to the Hokage training fields was a surprise, since they were exclusively reserved for the Hokage. She headed back to her apartment, thinking about how she should go about this. Naruto sat, eating his dinner on his dinner table. The cooking book the Hokage had provided was invaluable, allowing him to cook food for himself. He made sure to follow the instructions in the book word for word, and the result were broth eating. I might have some natural aptitude for cooking. Otherwise, I would have already blown the kitchen up, he mused. He was eternally grateful for what the old man had done for him. Now that he thought about it, he figured that when he entered the academy 2 years later, some instructors would be prone to discriminate with him. Against him? No, it says with him. Okay. Perhaps this was the way of the old man looking out for him in his shinobi life, he thought. He finished the dinner and washed the plates. After that, he proceeded to his bedroom and lay down on his bed, closing his eyes. Tomorrow will be interesting indeed. Yes, it will. Naruto's eyes opened as soon as the alarm he had set rang. His hand reached out and shut the alarm clock. Waking up at 5:30 in the morning left him plenty of time to get ready. He finished his morning rituals in 10 minutes and dressed in his normal orange jumpsuit. He went to the fridge and pulled out 2 bananas, peeling one and eating it at a comfortable pace, followed by the second. He finished and looked up at the clock. 5:30. Best get going, he thought. He went up and out the door. Making sure to lock it up properly, he hid the key inside the potted plant near the staircase. He exited the building and ran towards the grounds. The sun there's just a random, my bad, was just beginning to rise, so the air was still cool as it hit his face. He smiled as he increased the pace and reached the ground with 1 minute to spare. He was surprised to see that just as he had reached the grounds, his new teacher also reached at the same time. Her eyes showed surprise at his appearance, but she gestured him to follow her. They arrived in the training ground after Anko said to the guards that they were authorized to use it. Arriving at the middle of the ground, she said, "Sit down, brat. Introduce yourself." Naruto frowned at the way she said it, but did it anyways. Naruto Uzumaki, age 5. Likes are reading and training, and dislikes are the people who can't differentiate between a kunai and a sealing scroll. Hobbies are none of your business, and dream is to become the strongest Hokage ever. He began in a monotone, became slightly rude in the middle, and finished it with a grin and a thumbs up. Wait, what? Where did it get rude? Hobbies aren't in your business. Okay, that's where it got rude. Anko grinned in a savage way at his introduction. Not many people had the guts to be rude to her, but this rat had no problem doing it. Time to instill the fear, she thought maliciously. Grabbing his collar, she jerked him forward until they were nose to nose. In a deadly whisper, she said, "I don't like brats like you, who think that just because they're getting special treatment, they're above others." Naruto replied unfazed, "And just because you're older and more powerful than me doesn't mean you have to be rude." Anko smirked and let go of Naruto, who sat back down. "I like you, kid, which means that I won't go easy on you. Get up and give me 10 rounds of this ground fast." And so he began his training. For a whole 4 weeks, she just concentrated on his physical conditioning. She wanted him to be physically fit for what she was about to mold him into. She was surprised at how obediently Naruto followed her commands. Whatever she told him to do, he did without question. She ran him into the ground every day, so exhausted he was that as soon as she announced that the training for the day was over, he would collapse onto the ground, unable to move. She always carried him back to his home and laid him in his bed. She also left him a bento every time, knowing he didn't have the energy to cook. Kurama always woke him up to eat. Naruto thanked her profusely every time, but she always waved him away, saying it was the duty of her sensei to care for the student. She didn't want him to know that she was also growing fond of him. That would be embarrassing. I don't see how, but okay. Another good thing that Naruto and Anko didn't know was that every time Naruto came back exhausted, Kurama always healed him up with his chakra. The good thing about this was that after every session, Naruto's muscles would be stronger than before. Because if you don't know scientifically, it works like that. Requiring much more to get exhausted. Today is the day he would learn to control chakra, and he was excited as hell. Usually after his 15 rounds of the ground, Anko increased them. Anko decided he was satisfactorily warmed up and began explaining chakra control. Alright, kid, the first step to controlling chakra is to take a leaf and use your chakra to stick it in your forehead like this, she said, demonstrating the exercise. Naruto nodded before picking up the leaf from the ground and keeping it on his forehead and imagining his chakra creating a suction at the point where the leaf touched his forehead. Surprisingly, it took him only three times. I very much dislike when I have like little tongue trips is what I'm going to call them. But I'm going to continue. It only took him 3 tries to get the amount of chakra right. On the 4th try, the leaf was easily sticking to his forehead, and he stood there smiling proudly. He knew he would have good chakra control due to his lack of chakra coils. Using chakra for the first time felt really good. He simply had to imagine how his chakra flowed and sort of commanded it to do so, and voila, task accomplished. Anko stood there, gaping at Naruto. Pause. But most kids took 4 or 5 days to get this exercise right, and this kid had done it in 5 minutes. Absolutely unbelievable and outright ridiculous. She decided, does the term normal even apply to this kid? She thought with a twitching eyebrow. Hey, Anko-sensei, now that I've got it, what's next? Naruto asked with a grin. At this point, he was keeping the leaf stick with only minimal concentration. Anko grinned. A grin that Naruto never liked. It always meant doom. Now, she said, taking out shuriken. Keep that leaf stuck and dodge these. With that, she threw the shuriken at him. It was only his danger sense that saved him from being skewered. This continued for almost 15 minutes, and at the end of those, Naruto was heavily panting. She looked like she almost wanted to kill me, he thought, drawing deep breaths. Anko looked proud. Well done, Naruto. You successfully dodged the shuriken and kept the leaf stuck to your forehead. Take a 5-minute break. Not many, no scratch that. No one managed to do that on their first try. It was starting to look like this kid was born to be a shinobi. She contemplated if she should teach Naruto the tree walking exercise next. A relatively difficult exercise, a Genin level in fact, but Naruto wasn't even in the academy. Still, doesn't hurt to try. That's true, I guess, let him do it, you feel me? After the 5-minute break was over, she called Naruto, and they both walked towards a tree. Your next exercise would be to climb this tree with only your feet, she said. Naruto gave her a quizzical look. Isn't that kind of impossible, sensei? Anko rolled her eyes and lightly bonked him on the back of the head. With the aid of chakra, honestly, where does your intelligence go sometimes? Out of your head? Oh, God. Oh, that was not a great impression. That reminded me of someone else. Oh. Oh. Alright, I'm back. My bad. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and laughed sheepishly. Anko then demonstrated the exercise. This is kind of similar to the leaf sticking exercise, except you're sticking yourself to the tree instead of sticking a leaf to you. If you use too little chakra, your feet won't stick. If you use too much chakra, you'll get blasted off the tree like Team Rocket. What? Begin. You can use a running start if you want. That would be absolutely pointless unless you have the amount of chakra right in your leg, thought Naruto as he walked to the tree and put his right foot on the bark, regulating the amount of chakra prepared to stick. After he got it right, he kept in mind the amount of chakra and carefully pushed the same amount in his left leg. Taking a deep breath, he lifted his left leg, put it on the bark. Not losing concentration in his right leg, a huge smile appeared on his face as he successfully stuck to the bark. Tentatively, he took the next step and managed not to fall off. He continued this until he reached the top of the tree. Anko watched all this with her jaw on the ground. Dongo? What the hell? Dongo? Long forgotten. There was no possible explanation as to how Naruto managed to walk up the entire tree in 5 minutes of learning the exercise. Then she released a resigned sigh. I don't even want to know anymore. This became the norm for her, everything. Naruto mastered tree walking in 2 hours, water walking in 4 hours, and spinning a kunai above his hand with his chakra in 1 day, all the while dodging Anko's shuriken and kunai. It was now time to give the monthly report to Naruto. What? He asked blankly. It's true, Hokage-sama, Anko insisted. The smoking pipe had long since fallen off his mouth. This had to be some kind of genjutsu. There's no way Naruto mastered all the chakra control exercises in just 2 days. Anko was a very deadly kunoichi, so any students she took, in this case Naruto, had high standards to meet. But for Anko to say that Naruto did all of that in just 2 days, it was too much. He had no doubt that Naruto was very physically capable. He had an Uzumaki heritage and stuff, had monstrous reserves of chakra that could not be matched by anyone of his age. He expected Naruto to have problems in controlling his chakra, but from Anko's report, it looked like he had an excellent control of chakra. Anko then slowly asked him, knowing the Hokage was rattled to his bones by the news. Hokage-sama, can I have your permission to start teaching him ninjutsu and taijutsu? Granted. That pause was intentional, by the way. There's like 5 dots, so it's like ... Granted. You feel me? Naruto stood in his father's library, looking at the volumes of fleeing jutsu his mother had left for him. He picked the first volume and left the house. Uncle had very generously given the next day off to him, which he planned to make full use of. For some reason, he thought that Anko was very surprised at the speed at which he mastered those exercises. He had been asking her when he could start learning ninjutsu and taijutsu, but she said that first he needed to build up endurance and stamina. That is fair, by the way. After closing the door to his apartment, he set the thick book on the dining table and entered his bedroom, falling asleep. It was a late night after all, and sneaking around made him tired, especially after his sadistic sensei's training. His alarm rang at 7 next morning. I thought it was 6. Okay, 7 next morning. He did his morning rituals and made himself some breakfast. That reminds me, the stock that Gigi gave me will be finished soon. I need to go shopping, he thought. After breakfast, he picked up the Fleeing Jutsu volume and started reading. He finished it in 4 hours, including the test that his mother wrote for him at the end of the book. I didn't know Fuinjutsu was this easy, he thought in confusion as he checked the answers of his test. It's not, you insane child, Kurama grumbled. He had been seeing and hearing Fuinjutsu since the Tree Huggers era, and frankly, it annoyed the hell out of him. He was much more suited to performing acts of destruction than delicate writing. Oh my gosh. Kurama likes destroying things. I mean, I guess it's understandable, but still. I'm sorry, I digress. I keep doing that, but, where am I? Oh, also, if you couldn't tell, this is going to be a longer part. It was also specified in the beginning, but I did not know it was going to be this much longer. But hopefully somebody enjoys that and watches it. And gets to this part right here and has a good laugh because the middle bits are funny. Naruto easily ignored him and finished checking the answers. All of them correct. No surprise there, he thought smugly. Photographic memory was so useful. He finished another volume the same day with the same results in the test at the end of the book. 8 hours of fleeing jutsu was mentally exhausting, he thought. He just slept the rest of the day, waking up only to make and eat dinner, and fell asleep again. Damn. The next day, Anko started his taijutsu training. I'm going to teach you my style of fighting, Naruto. The snake style requires you to be light and flexible, capable of quick strikes and counterattacks, and weaving in between. She then grabbed Naruto's collar. You will learn and master the style in 1 year. Brad or even Kami won't be able to save you from my wrath, she threatened, enforcing her threat with a bit of killing intent. It had absolutely no effect whatsoever, since he had already had a taste of Kurama's killing intent. However, he nodded vigorously. Anko was pretty terrifying, even without killing intent. The next month he learned Tai and ninjutsu simultaneously. Due to his photographic memory and peculiar ability of his body, he was progressing quickly in taijutsu. He found that even though it was a formidable style, the snake style did not have the symbolizations of all five elements. Ninjutsu, on the other hand, he felt like he was born to do it. At this rate, he's born to do everything. But okay. It took him only 5 times to master the Henge no Jutsu. Henge? The Henge? What the hell is the Henge no Jutsu? And 9 tries to master the Kawarimi. Kawarimi? 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 Okay. I wish they would explain that. 2 days later, he had mastered the sealless Kawarimi. Kawarimi? My Hispanic's coming through and I'm rolling my R's. Kawarimi. I don't know how to pronounce that. I really don't. Okay, but no matter how hard he tried, even with his excellent chakra control, could he perform the Bunshin no Jutsu? Eventually, Anko got so fed up that he took the matter to the Hokage, who suggested the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu would be more suited for Naruto. Considering how large his chakra reserves were, it would be impossible for him to squeeze a drop of it that was required to perform the Bunshin. Pause. It took Naruto 2 hours to learn the Kage Bunshin, and when he did learn it, Anko and Hiruzen, who had come to supervise the technique of the Kinjutsu, were dumbstruck at the amount of clones Naruto could make. 100 clones at Naruto's age stupefied the Hokage so much that it took him almost 15 minutes to snap out of his shock. Jesus, it's a long time. Naruto soon discovered a very interesting aspect of the Kage Bunshin. He could remember everything that his clones saw or heard. So he already learned the trick of the Kage Bunshin? Oh my gosh. Yo, what are they not giving him? What? Bro, he's OP. I digress. And he had no qualms about abusing the shadow clones after all. He would make a shadow clone study Fuin Jutsu while he trained with Anko. In 8 days, all the volumes of Fuin Jutsu were finished. He had even learned how to print seals onto surfaces with his chakra. Oh my gosh! Now, technically, that would make him a seal master, but his mother had written on a note that even after finishing all the volumes, he would have to be tested by a certified seal master to be considered a seal master, which makes sense. It does, if you think about it. He knew no one who was one, so he asked if his GG could test him. But the old man had questions of his own. You're telling me that you finished all volumes of Fuinjutsu your mother left in just 10 days? His voice sounded unbelieving. Naruto nodded, his expression serious. Hiruzen let out a small, nervous chakra. Forgive me, Naruto, if I find that hard to believe. Naruto shrugged. He figured he could tell him of his gifts. When you have photographic memory coupled with shadow clones, you tend to abuse it, GG. Hiruzen looked shocked at the fact. You have photographic memory? I don't know why that's the shocking part, but okay. Naruto nodded. Yes. That was a female voice. Oh my gosh. Yes. Damn. Hiruzen then sighed. Aside from that, Naruto, but I'm not a certified seal master, and as such, I'm not qualified to test you. He told Naruto regretfully. But my student Jiraiya is. Tell you what, when he visits the village next time, I'll tell him to test you. Is that okay? Naruto figured that he had no choice. Alright. It had been 2 months since Anko and Naruto started training, and he had progressed spectacularly. With the common ninjutsu out of the way, he focused solely on his taijutsu, which grew by leaps and bounds, but he was still far from giving her a challenge. After those 2 months, Anko figured that it wouldn't hurt teaching the boy chakra nature transformations. Naruto sat in front of Anko, who was standing and explaining the chakra nature transformations. There are 5 basic nature transformations: fire, wind, water, lightning, and earth. Each element is connected to each other in a way. Fire is weak against water, but strong against wind. Wind is strong against lightning, but weak against fire. Lightning is strong against earth, but weak against wind. And earth is weak against lightning, but strong against water. Water is strong against fire, but weak against earth. Which makes sense. She handed him a slip of paper. That is chakra paper. It will tell you your chakra affinities. If you have fire, it will burn, tear in half with wind, shrink with lightning, crumble to dust if earth, and soak if water. Yeah. Naruto nodded and focused a tiny bit of his chakra into the paper. What happened next blew his own mind away, along with Anko's. Inside his mind, the QB grinned. Even he did not expect that, but it was a nice surprise. The paper split into three parts. One soaked up very heavily, meaning water. The second crumpled into a ball, meaning lightning. And the last one burned to ashes. Anko threw up her hands and walked away. Also, you have to remember that it's split into three. So I think it also means wind, but I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works because they said it'll tear with wind. Okay. I'm just talking. My bad. Naruto blinked for a second and then grinned. Awesome! When the Hokage came to know, he promptly fainted like a schoolgirl. Jeez, all he does is fall asleep. I just gotta know. When he woke up, he was convinced that Naruto would grow up to become the most unpredictable ninja ever. True. What happened in the next 3 months was chakra nature manipulation. He would make 4 groups of 25, each group practicing a different nature. He's talking about shadow clones, by the way. For the first time, he had a challenge. Changing the nature of chakra was a lot more difficult than he thought. It took him 1 whole month to master only the first step of elemental manipulation for all 4 of his affinities. Cutting a leaf in half for wind. Yes, so it does mean wind, by the way. Collecting water from the leaf for water. Shrinking up the leaf for lightning. Burning the leaf for fire. So on and so forth. The only affinity he doesn't have is earth? Bruh. Man. The second and final step took him a whole 2 months. For wind, it was cutting a rock clean in half. For water, it was separating water from other liquids. For lightning, it was cracking a stone into pieces. For lightning. For fire, it was boiling water. Anko had left him to his own devices after he started his elemental training, but checked in on him every now and then. He always teased her on how she was acting like his mother, which resulted in him having a bruise on his head. Why would he keep teasing her then if he would... Okay. After those 3 months, however, he finally met his godfather. Okay, I told myself once we got to this little time skip, I'd stop, but I feel like it's my duty to continue, so I'm just going to take a sip of my drink, and then we're going to get right back into it. You feel me? Wow. Flashback. He was practicing his taijutsu katas on the training field when he sensed a presence. He was slowly developing his sensory abilities with the help of Kurama. He turned around to see no one, but he knew someone was standing just a few feet in front of him. Who's there? He asked. The air in front of him shimmered, and a man appeared. He wore a red sleeveless coat and pants, a green kimono underneath, and Geita sandals. He had long white hair and was very well built, standing over 6 feet. Let's go, Jiraiya, my boy. So you could sense me. Very impressive. Do you know who I am? Naruto answered as if he wasn't fazed. Jiraiya of the Sannin. Jiraiya grinned. Sensei told me that you mastered all 10 volumes of Fuinjutsu your mother left you in 10 days. I don't believe you, he said in a challenging tone. Inside, however, he was thinking, oh, Minato, Kushina, if only you could see your son right now, he thought wistfully. Naruto was also having some thoughts. His tone of speaking would suggest that he was familiar with my mother. But how? I know that he was Dad's sensei, which means he also was a Fuinjutsu master, but how close was he? Outward, he shrugged. Doesn't matter if you do or not. Your job's to test me and nothing else. Jiraiya was a little deflated on how Naruto was acting so detached. He knew that Naruto did not know that he was his grandfather, but it still hurt. Reining in his emotions, he spoke. Let's get this over with then. Okay, that was weird. Let's get this over with then. 3 hours later, he stood in the field staring at... Why 3 hours later? What? Okay. Staring at Naruto with a gaping jaw. Naruto was standing there panting. Jiraiya had tested him on every aspect of Fuinjutsu, both written test and how it could apply to battle. Obviously, he lost, but Jiraiya was seriously impressed at how the kid was able to apply Fuinjutsu in battle. The versatility was clearly there, along with a touch of unpredictability. What's the result? Both of them turned to the voice that had spoken. What? Oh, I thought Naruto said that. Oh, my bad. What's the result? Both of them turned to the voice that had spoken. The Sandaime Hokage was standing there with a small smile on his face, as if he knew what the answer was. He passes, Jiraiya replied, still in a daze. Naruto nodded at that and sat down with as much grace as he could muster. He probably fell back after that, asleep before hitting the ground. His last thought, I finally became a SEAL master. Flashback ended. Jiraiya had revealed to him after the test that he was his godfather. And initially, he was downright furious that Jiraiya had just abandoned him to the wolves. Hey, whoa, whoa, whoa! My boy Jiraiya's got reasonings. But after calming down and thinking it through, he realized that Jiraiya had duties outside the village walls, which is why he couldn't raise him. He didn't forgive him, saying he will have to earn his forgiveness. What? Give Jiraiya a chance, bro. Man, alright, bro. If that's how the book wants to go with it. Jiraiya looked relieved at this and promised to make it up for him. Before he knew it, 1 year had passed. Oh, so this is a time skip, actually. That was a flashback. And it was time for him to enter the academy. Walking along with his GG in the school quarters. Are you serious? That's definitely favoritism, bro. Okay. Showing a tuning instructor with a scar on his face and his hair shaped into a pineapple ponytail. Hokage-sama, is anything wrong? Hiruzen waved him away. Nothing at all, Iruka. I just came here to bring Naruto. He will be starting from today. Iruka looked at Naruto, and Naruto was instantly able to recognize the look. After all, he had received it many times. Looking into the class... What? Iruka hated him? What? He saw the same look on many of the students' faces. He sighed. It'll be a long 6 years. Oh. Okay. So, sorry, I went quiet. Sorry, I was reading what the author was saying. Basically, they were addressing the fact that Naruto may look OP, but he really isn't, apparently. So, yeah, which is good that, okay. Again, if you want to read this book for yourself, it's called Return of the Flash on Wattpad. I don't believe I said it in the beginning. However, I'm saying it now, so hopefully that's good enough for you. And also, leave a like, subscribe, and the question will be, and nobody's answered this yet, but, hopefully maybe, somebody will. But the question is, what is, what is a Shinigami's favorite fruit? You should know this. This is easy. Ryuki eats it. I think that's his name in Death Note. Ryuki eats it. It's, a blank a day keeps the doctor away. It's pretty simple. But yeah, with that, leave a comment, leave a like. And yeah, if you just want to have a conversation down below. Sorry, I opened my AirPods case. And yeah, with that, shoot, I'm out.